Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today's video is going to be an energy update for the entire month of June. The video is going to go over the three main themes that you might be experiencing this month. It'll pertain to the astrology, it'll pertain to people who are going through a spiritual transformational process at this time, and this month is a great opportunity to make a lot of positive changes in your life and to go forward in a way that is really in alignment with your highest potential. You'll be getting nudges and guidance and clarity throughout this month. And overall, it's looking out to be a very nice month. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead now, as I always do, and break it down into three more grounded themes. Theme number one, finally, glimpses of your next big thing. A lot of you may have been feeling like and actually experiencing closing out some major chapter of your life. This could be in a literal level, like with a relationship or your career, or like your kids moving out of the house, as an example, or something like that. It could also be just an area of your focus within your career. It doesn't have to be some kind of formal thing. But nonetheless, there are feelings and situations and energies involved when you're closing a chapter. And most people initially resist closing these chapters because it's what's familiar, it's what you're used to, and it implies the unknown. So a lot of times we try to keep things together, even though it's playing itself out. This job, this relationship, this living situation, this area of focus. But anyway, eventually we let go and we yield, because there's no point of hanging on nowadays. Things happen so quickly. But then there's this long period, sometimes long. For me, they tend to be kind of lengthy, longer than I would like, of a period where I'm not doing what I used to do. And I've kind of come to terms with that. I've accepted it. Okay, the universe wants me to move on. I'm ready. And I'm waiting. And nothing's happening. But I feel it might soon. It's coming. And then sometimes this can just, it's like you could just be left there, idle, waiting. What's next? No guidance, no insight, no intuition, nothing's moving in your life. What is the next thing? And sometimes these times can last so long that you forget that there is such a thing as you being kind of guided. There is such a thing of manifesting something new and creating something new. And it's like we forget that these cycles finally do eventually, rev themselves back up once again. And then we're back into action mode, excitement mode, expansion mode, all that fun stuff. But it can take a while. What I'm saying this week, you might not have a perfect game plan of your next thing. It might not be this crystal clear image, but I suspect you'll start to get little glimpses. Little things might start to happen in your life where you experience that energy of movement, energy of guidance, energy of expansiveness, energy of being finally drawn to something new and fun. And it's going to have this feeling that you probably felt before. The last time you were doing something pretty dope that was sort of sprung onto you from the universe that you weren't expecting, but nonetheless were very grateful to receive and participate in. It's kind of like that, but in the earlier little itty bitty stages. But hey, it's a sign. This happened to me recently. I've been going through this in my own life big time. Sorry, this chair, I know it's noisy. I'm going to try to sit quietly. For me, I've been closing out many chapters of my life. For a while, my main thing was building a business to support my family, growing my YouTube channel, getting myself into a place of groundedness where my children have a nice life, basically. And this all started 8 years ago when I was living in a little 21 travel trailer, broke and credit card debt, very few YouTube followers. I was just following a dream, but I was hustling. I was moving towards something. My life had meaning. It had purpose. And even though there were ups and downs, it was exciting. And anyway, I've been in this sort of place of stagnation for a while where it just doesn't feel like my next thing is a business venture or another YouTube growth spurt, and my family's life is good, my health is good, everything's fine. And I found myself for a while kind of like depressed. And you might relate with this as well. That's why I'm bringing it up. While we're in between things, it's kind of boring. There might be a little mild case of the blues because you just don't have that sense of purpose. You're waiting for it, but it's just not there. You know you can't find it in the old. I could like create some kind of like business plan or something and launch something, but I know it's not going to excite me. Just like you know, going back into the old ways is not going to do it for you, even if you wish it would. So anyways, this feeling of stagnation can be kind of like depressing. For me anyway, old bad habits can come up as a way of like a desperate attempt to give me a little something that makes me know I'm alive, but it doesn't do it. It's not the same as being aligned with spirit, focused on something that is like part of your destiny and purpose. It pales in comparison, but we do it nonetheless because we got like nothing else going on. And anyway, that's kind of how it was for me for a while. And just on any other regular day, about a week ago, I found myself finishing a book. I finished this big book I was working my way through. And I was looking at my different I have a few different bookshelves, and I was looking at all the books. I haven't read many of my books. I was like looking at the bookshelves, and I was like, This feeling of like not knowing what's next, of like almost boredom, was translated into like finding a book. And I was like, man, all these books, none of them are grabbing me. None of them are exciting to me. Finally, I walked over to this first bookshelf in my living room, like for the second time. And as I walked up to it, it was almost weird. I was almost like, I just like almost ran into the bookshelf. I just was like almost unconsciously just zeroed in, and I walked right up to it and got really close to them. Almost, which doesn't make sense because normally you'd want to like stand back to look. I just walked up to the bookshelf like a kind of a weirdo, as if I knew where I was going, but I didn't think about anything. And this book, Autobiography of a Yogi, literally, it was like, I found myself like this close. And I was like, that was pretty trippy. And I paused. Thought about it, and I was like, no. Is this book like straight up calling to me? I haven't had that sort of sensation in a while. I was like, it is, damn. So I picked it up, and the really interesting thing is this book has been recommended to me by close friends like for years, and I could never get into it. I like muscled my way into like the first 100 or so pages, and I just found it boring, and I couldn't. It was a hard read. I couldn't really comprehend it very well. It was just not doing it for me. So anyway, interestingly enough, the last time I had put it down, it was like right at the threshold of where it starts to get awesome, where this dude, Yogananda, meets his guru, and the book becomes this amazing thing. And anyway, this book was like sort of synchronistically like fell into my lap, so to speak, and it has been so unspeakably activating. I now know my next focus, in case you care or you're curious, is not to build another business. It's not to have another child, which I've thought about. It's to like go deeper into my spirituality. Something I haven't done in a very focused way in a while. Like a lot of you, I've been kind of healing. I've been kind of going through my stuff, but I've not really like had a dedicated spiritual practice that I was like meditating like an hour a day and doing yoga and stuff like that with a purpose. So anyways, this is like the beginning of a new era for me. And it has all those feelings that I know you're waiting for if it hasn't happened for you yet in your own way. The feeling of wonder, the feeling of purpose, like when I get out of bed, I have something not I'm running toward, but something pulling me towards, which gives this sense of like meaning and purpose. So anyway, that's for me. For you, it might have anything to do with that whatsoever. Maybe a lot of you have been doing this for a long time. I've been meditating every day, Vic, and I got vision boards, but that's all. My life needs some work. And maybe for you, it's about taking all of what you learn and doing something with it finally, which is a huge change. Maybe you're being called out there back into 3D, into the real world, to build your own business, to create your own purpose-based career, to do something physical, something tangible, something nuts and bolts where you can apply all that you've learned over the years of your dedicated spiritual practice. I've been through that as well. That also can come as a shock, because you're like, wait, no, I'm not ready to. I'm too sensitive. I don't want to go out there in the real world. It's a mess right now, and yet you might feel like this pull. But the point is, my friend, this week, what I suspect will be the case for a lot of you, and also my intention, is that you start to get a glimpse, at the very least a glimpse of your next step, a little taste. And what you'll feel is not so much a certain thing, it's more of like an energy. Like for me, it's not about the book. It's like, oh, the information is just telling me what to do. No, it's like, it's the sense of being in alignment with something. It's a sense of alignment, like, this is where I'm meant to be. And it's challenging me, and it's something I'm working with, and just this sense of purpose, best way I could put it, is beginning to come back online. And thank God, because it's been a while for me, honestly. So I hope that will be the case for you as well. Number 2, I wrote down grounded spirituality. Most people I've talked to, myself included, to an extreme, when people first have their spiritual awakening, they usually go through quite an ungrounded phase where you become inflated. You start to kind of ride high on this, experiencing all these, like maybe for the first time ever, spiritual insights, downloads, synchronicities, crazy ass dreams, mystical encounters, synchronistically information just falling right into your lap, and you feel this sense of like oneness, and all these really spiritual states can come on very strongly to the very new seeker, if you will. And it can be kind of a mess. It usually happens in a way that doesn't really benefit your physical life much. So a lot of people who are feeling all this oftentimes are like flat broke. They're in between jobs. Their relationships need work. Their car's breaking down. Their life is not doing well. But yet they're like, you have like this almost savior complex where you're going around and thinking you need to preach to everybody, and you're seeing all the darkness in the world so clearly. Not so much your own darkness, but you're seeing everybody else's stuff. It's an ungrounded spirituality. It's like what is it? The Duhigg. There's this, I'm going to butcher. I'm going to look it up real quick. They call it the Dunning-Krueger effect. It's kind of like when it's a graph basically, where when someone comes into some new information, they become inflated. Where like if I was to teach you a little bit about, say, working on cars, it gives you this, because there's all of a sudden you just know all this, you know way more than you did before. It inevitably has this inflation effect where you think you're like a mechanic all of a sudden, but you're not. You still could totally screw up your car, but you feel like a mechanic. And so there's like this spike, right? And then there's a big downturn where as you continue learning, you start to realize more and more that you don't know shit. You're like you become humbled and you know very little. But then after even more experience, finally, slowly but surely, it starts to arc upwards. And then you're like on the path to being somewhat proficient, somewhat wise. You're on this slow path to mastery. So anyways, what I described a minute ago was like the inflation is like that first part for the spiritually speaking. So right now you might find yourself like going back into your spirituality, but with a more humble, grounded way. And in this way, it's like it's a long journey. That's what I'm finding. Like I'm reading this book, and like it's interesting because there's like all these like messages from gurus and things like that. And it's making me aware of just how far I have to go, basically. For example, in this book, a real good example, the practitioner, Yogananda, when he was a young cat and he finally first found this guru, he was instructed to put up a mosquito net to prevent the mosquitoes from coming in. Now, come to find, the guru never even was bothered by mosquitoes. He was like that well along on his own spiritual journey that like mosquitoes didn't bother him for some miraculous way. But anyway, so the guru said, that net's more so just for you. But anyway, Yogananda forgot to put the net out. And then there were some mosquitoes that came in. And he was very proud of himself because he noticed, for one, the mosquitoes didn't bother the master at all, but the mosquitoes were bothering him quite a bit, and he wanted to like kill them, but he chose not to. He chose like, you know what? I'm not going to kill any creature, even with mosquitoes biting me. And the master like knew all this was going on, and he brought it up. And what he brought up was not the fact that he was so in self-control where he didn't kill the mosquito. He brought up the point that he wanted to. He said, you still wanted to kill. You had the desire to kill that mosquito, didn't you? He was like, yeah, you're right. I did. My point is there are levels. There are levels. And in the beginning, again, a lot of us, we heard a little bit and we're like, I guess I'm meant to be a guru now. And it's like, oof. Now you might find yourself, like me, rededicating yourself to your spiritual growth in some way. Maybe it's time to pick up that meditation practice, but now you can do so as with that beginner's mind, that humble mindset, knowing that you still have a long way to go, but because of that mindset, what I find is it can be actually more, you can finally start to really make some real life changes in yourself. Another example I'll give is the book I just finished was by a guy named Dr. Gabor Mate. He's like in his mid-70s. He's a well-known physician and psychologist. He's done a lot of trauma healing on himself. He grew up in like a very post World War II era. So he was like a Hungarian, but he was so part of like, his family was part of like the concentration camps in some capacity. Anyway, but this guy, he's done so much work and he's written many best-selling books. He's very, very like high level, you could say. But if you listen to him, he's very, very honest. He's very, very transparent about how he doesn't have all the answers, how he's not completely healed. He doesn't pretend to be. And yet it actually makes his information even more, at least to me, in my opinion, more impactful because it's not inflated. It's very grounded, very soulful, very honest. So that's kind of like the vibe I'm trying to, as best I can, maybe not very, very well, but trying to explain like might be your new approach to your own spirituality, which is it's kind of humbling. You realize that the mountain is pretty high. At the same time, you're seeing things more clearly. It's better to be accurate and super humble and have a long ass way to go than to think you're at the top of the mountain, like many of us inevitably did earlier on. And finally, number 3, it's a week to force, yes, I said it, the word force yourself outside of your comfort zone to do things that you know you want to do, that you know would benefit you, that you know the only reason you're not doing them is because they're uncomfortable and they're new. We are such a product of our very limited, very dysfunctional conditioning. And this conditioning, whether it's from mom or dad or society, doesn't matter, it's there. And it keeps us in this very limited, almost like little like linear loops that we experience in our life. And they're oftentimes, what comes with them, these little cycles are pain and like, at the very least, limitation. But again, it's a time of growth. It's a time of like entering a new era. And it's a time where these little limiting loops they're gonna like keep you locked into this unnecessary wall-less prison you've been living in. And you might start to wake up to that prison. And the way you do is you want something and you know it's not like a want. Like, I want a Ferrari. I want $10 million. It's not that kind of want. It's more like, I feel very, on a physical level, drawn to this thing, this area, this opportunity. I feel drawn to it. It feels like it's me. It feels like it resonates with who I really am. And it's like my next step. But then there's like these energies of like fear and apprehension and I'm not good enough, all this stuff. That's what I mean. And now is the time to not let those programs stop you. And for most of us, it requires making a conscious choice and forcing yourself through them. It's rarely the other way around. It's rarely do you work with them, heal them, and then you feel comfortable, and then you go. It's not like that. It's about who are you gonna be. Are you going to be the old conditioned version of yourself, or are you going to act and behave as the person you know yourself to be? And it can happen in small ways. For me, it's very simple currently. Right now, we moved into this new house recently, and it's cool, very lovely home, nice area. But we now know, my family and I, that we want to like be way more in nature, way more outside of like the busyness. And we're not there yet. So it's a goal. It's like the next 18 months or so, we're going to probably do something different. But in the meantime, because I'm craving nature so much, I've been living in Austin, for example, and there's like all sorts of cool nature spots, and I never go to any of them. Why? Because it's uncomfortable, because it's unfamiliar, because it requires me to kind of break out of these little programs. Well, now, by golly, we're doing it. In fact, just in a couple hours, we're going to this new state park as an example. It's out of characteristic for me to kind of force myself, but it's requiring that. It's requiring some force. When I got onto YouTube for the first time, you know what this camera did to me? It caused me to freeze up. It caused me to sweat. It caused all my inspiration to just vanish. It caused my brain to go blank. It put me in touch with all of my childhood issues, all of my inadequacies, all my adolescent insecurities. All of that was right there every time I turned on the camera. But you know what? I want it to be on YouTube. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't some kind of miraculous, divine, synchronistic healing that took place and then I made YouTube videos. No, I dealt with it. Every time I filmed a video, I had to be with that part of myself. I had to force it. But thank God I did, because over time, I was able to work through some of that stuff. And now, filming a video to me feels the way I always had imagined it to feel. I've worked through enough of my conditioning to where I can now enjoy and appreciate filming this video. But it required not motivation, not miraculous divine guidance. It required discipline. It required me just staying present with who I am and what I want out of life. I'll leave you with this. I just had this, I have a martial arts instructor, and his name is Angel. And at the end of our boxing or kickboxing classes, he always gives these really great like speeches. And he was talking about martial arts and talking about how difficult it is and how very few people are like a natural at martial arts, something you really have to work at for like a long time before you're even like decent. And he was talking about how many of his students, they say, Angel, how do I have more motivation? I need more motivation. And he had this look in his eye like he's got a chip on his shoulder when it comes to motivation. He said, you don't need motivation. What you need is discipline. Motivation is unpredictable. It's unsustainable. It's unreliable. And it's unnecessary. Because all of us can discipline ourselves to show up and go to class and train. Just as I can I'm using discipline and kind of willpower to go into nature, something I feel called to do, but for some stupid reason, been here like 5 years, haven't done it. So what is it you are drawn to right now, my friend, that is outside of your comfort zone? I encourage you to at least consider what I said. See what it's like to force it. Going back to martial arts, I felt the same way like about 6 months ago. I wanted to join Muay Thai and martial arts, and it was something I was drawn to, but it was super scary. I'm not very good at it. At least I'm better now, but I really sucked 6 months ago. But I had to make myself go. I had to use discipline to make myself go to class. And it wasn't like a one-time thing. It was like for 3 or 4 months, I had this feeling of heaviness every time I went to class. But then when I get there, I'd be reminded of why I was drawn there in the first place, and grateful that I pushed through those old programs and those old nerves, only trying to keep me safe, only trying to keep me secure, only trying to keep me in the familiar. But the familiar is unsatisfying. The familiar is like a dull ache. It's like a waking. It's like we're sleepwalking. It's not really living. And a lot of us aren't really alive because we let these programs control us and tell us who we are, tell us what we're not capable of doing. But you, the seeker, is starting to wake up enough to where you can at the very least question those programs and choose to press the envelope. See what happens. Go to class. Write the book. Turn on the camera. Yeah, it might be as you expect. It might be kind of rough. But keep doing it. See what happens. You start to see slowly but surely through your disciplined actions that you are strong enough to overcome those programs. They usually come on real strong when you're breaking out of them, but eventually they relinquish their grip. And they have no choice but to yield to the person who you truly are at the core. With that said, my friend, if you would like some help accessing that core part of you, what I sometimes do at the end of my videos is offer a free somatic release guided breathwork ceremony. It's something I've been doing for years. I've done it with thousands of people. It's very powerful for trauma healing, very powerful for releasing pent-up energy, and very powerful for connecting with who you truly are. Normally people pay for these, but for right now, today, it's free. I'm going to leave a link down below. If this interests you, check it out. It is powerful, so I warn you, it's not something to do every day. This is like once in a great while. You can pop this in and watch it and like go through it. And it's quite powerful. So I'll leave it to you if that helps. With that said, I'll see you soon. Have an amazing day and a great week. Peace.